Yes.
Chartran.
Here.
King.
Here.
Bowser.
Here.
Lishos.
Here.
Lehman.
Here.
Mowerhand.
Here.
Mosier.
Here.
Osborne.
Here.
Bellhop.
Here.
Pretty foul, Larry. Now what do you want to say?
Oh, we stand for the invocation and the pledge. We'll try it again. We gather here today, intent on doing good work. We seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all. May our personal faith give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters before us. Please turn to the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes of the August 7th, 2018 meeting stand approved. Report of the Rules and Legislation Committee for 6, Carrie.
The Rules and Legislation Committee has met and they recommend to waive the rules to act upon late resolutions. I need a motion to accept.
Motion by Brian, second by Randy. Discussion in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're now going to open public hearing to solicit comments. First, we will take the effectiveness of program administration of the Lewis County Housing and Rehab Program. Cheryl?
I have a sign-in sheet on the circulate. Got to do that, sorry. I also have a breakdown, a summary of the results of the program, and I have a few before and after pictures as well. In September of 2016, Lewis County applied for $847,500 in funding through the Community Development Block Grant Program for the Lewis County Housing Rehabilitation Program. The first public hearing was held on September 6, 2016 in preparation for the application. And the second public hearing is being held today to provide residents with the opportunity to offer any comments on the accomplishments of the grant. So what you have in front of you is a summary spreadsheet. The purpose of the program is to provide low and moderate income households with grant funds to improve the health, safety, and energy efficiency of their homes and to make excessive modifications as necessary to allow elderly homeowners to remain in their home as long as possible. All projects must meet code as well as housing quality standards as developed by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The grant agreement stipulated that all funds must be expended by December 14th, 2018, 24 months after the funds were awarded. The application anticipated that 16 owner-occupied units and 9 renter-occupied units would be assisted. The program is nearing completion. We have about one more grant that we can award, and 20 owner-occupied units and 2 renter-occupied units have been completed. Another 4 owner-occupied units and 1 renter-occupied units is in progress for a total of 27. And the owner-occupied units included a mobile home replacement. We didn't meet the goal of 9 rental units primarily because we just didn't have enough rental applications. Of the 27 household units, 6 are disabled, 9 are elderly, and 4 are free male head of households. The average CDBG per unit assistance provided to date is $24,611, and it ranges from $9,300 to $40,813.14, which is the mobile home replacement. Additional funds of $81,258 were provided by other grant funds awarded to Snowbelt, bringing the total project cost up to $745,769. with an average total project cost of $27,621. Energy audits were completed by Lewis County Opportunities, and any weatherization-related work was included in the scope of work, either by Opportunities or by the contractor. Lead-based paint risk assessments and clearances were completed for the homes that were built prior to 1978, when lead paint was banned. The contractors were required to use lead-safe work practices and pass a clearance test ensuring that the home is free of lead hazards. If the rehabilitation hard cost exceeds $25,000, then you have to do lead abatement. We didn't need to do any lead abatement. Projects were completed throughout the county, so it was truly a countywide program. And the majority of the contractors live in Lewis County as well, and we encourage them to use local suppliers. So I do have some before and after photos, if you want to just take a look at those. Obviously they're anonymous, but. So that's what we've accomplished on this grant. We're still waiting for the funding, the next funding round announcement to come out. The state has not released the announcement yet, so we don't know if we're going to be able to do another grant, or and if so, when. So.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions? So concurrently, we're also supposed to have a public hearing open regarding the proposed addition to the Lewis County ATV trail system on the property owned by a Turkish family, irrevocable trust, located on the French Settlement Road in the town of Diana. Is there anyone here that would like to comment on that? If not, privilege of the floor. Hospital CEO Jerry Taylor is with us to introduce a newly hired neurosurgeon, Nicholas Wanda.
Thank you. As you can see, Dr. Kanda is not with me tonight. At 2:30, he got called into the operating room, and so we're going to try again for next month. It's one of the hazards of my job. So, but I do look forward to Dr. Kanda being introduced to this group and an opportunity for you to ask questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. So Carol's already given us a rundown of the CDBG grant. Are there any comments on the effectiveness of program administration of the Lewis County Rehab Program? If not, next privilege of the floor would be Jen Corrales.
Good evening. My name is Jen Corrales. I'm from Lewis County Farm Bureau. And this is my son, Henry. We are, now you're in the showcase, now you're quiet. We're here tonight to invite you to our Lewis County Farm Tour. If I may approach. Some of you have been attending this event in the past. In the past, we made it an all-day event. And this year, we're going to try something a little bit different. Just take one and pass it around. This year we're going to do the farm tour just on a Friday night from 5 to 8. We're going to do it at Mark and Tina Larrabee's farm, which is on Route 26, just north of Lava. And the very next day, they're going to be hosting the Family Farm Day event. So the flyers going around that way for the Family Farm Day event, and the green flyers are for the farm tour. So our goal with both of these events is to highlight agriculture because it's the largest industry in Lewis County. And we wanted to give everybody in the surrounding areas an opportunity to come out and learn more about agriculture and see what goes on the farm on a daily basis. And we wanted to invite our local officials to come out the night before on Friday from 5 to 8 for a farm tour and a farm picnic that's going to highlight local foods. So you'll all be receiving an invite in the mail as well. But we wanted to take this opportunity tonight to give you a heads up so you can get it on your calendars. Any questions anybody has? All right. You're all right. So with that, we're going to take our leave. So go relatively quiet. I'm going to all get back to business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Awesome.
Is there anyone else here that would like credit to the floor? Lori?
I'm Lori Halliday. I'm the Executive Director for the Railway Historical Society for all of Northern New York. We are a non-for-profit 501c3 educational facility dedicated to preserve the age of the Iron Horse on the Lowell Beaver Railroad. You have recently, if you haven't found it already, it's in your box, a request for $25,000. And the reason why we are requesting this amount is we need the blacktop off the rail crossings. Our rolling stock, we have a 1947 diesel, original diesel engine to that line, plus an 1898 combine car. And combine cars, passenger freight combined. That's here in the Lowell engine house. There's another company called Railstar that'll be going in there. So therefore, we need to get our rolling stock to Kroger so we can develop our tourist line. That's always been our goal. We have events throughout the year. We had Iron Horse Day when we ride speeders. Just for that, to give you an example, we had 200 people ride the rails with us. The furthest person that came, Kingston, Canada, to visit us. And we are an historical depot. We were built in 1903, first paying passengers 1906. So we definitely could use the help. That's the hindrance. We need to get that blacktop off those crossings. And I will refer to my colleague for more information on this.
Good evening. My name is Ron Trottier. I'm the CEO of Railstar USA. But in full interest of full disclosure, I'm also chairman or president of the Railroad Historical Society of Northern New York. And I've been a member of that since the early 90s with a bunch of other fellows. And we've been trying to do a certain amount of progress to ultimately lead toward an operation of a tourist train or some aspect of tourism. It's a unique environment that is enhanced to some extent by its surroundings and everything and some of the equipment we have. But speaking of equipment, and I have to second Lori's statement that the equipment in Lowellville is sort of in the way of Railstar proceeding with some of its plans. We have a plan to develop parts of the line for what's called a rail bike operation, where people, you might have 10 or 12 of these rail bikes on the rail and people pedal them down the street. They've been known to be a very inclusive tourism type of thing. They attract people from 8 to 80 years old, so they're very family inclusive. And I think the line that we represent here would be ideally suited for that, as it is not hilly, it doesn't contain a lot of sharp curves and so on and so forth. We also have some equipment that can step up from that. That equipment is presently held in Cape Vincent, where I operate a couple of marinas there, and I took it off transport trailers over there because we are not ready to bring this trolley car over to Lowellville and operate that out of Lowellville for a short run. We also have some other equipment that could carry passengers, but that is stockpiled in Cape Vincent also, along with a full container of rail bikes that'll be here in about 2 weeks. So Lori's dilemma highlighted what the Railstar, or what the Historical Society is faced with in terms of a roadblock. Well, that further backs up the pipeline for what Railstar as a private corporation wants to do with the rest of the railroad. We will include Kroger in that, all of these plans, but we have this bottleneck of not being able to traverse over certain parts of the line with the rail equipment. And that equipment does include maintenance equipment. I have equipment stockpiled in Utica on GVT's railroad that could be used up here. I have purchased in the past some equipment for maintenance on rail lines that I could use. But it all requires opening the rail lines for actual rail use. So I guess I'm seconding the motion that we need the rail lines completely open so that these plans can proceed. I did think that we would have a chance at operating this fall, but I have given up on that because timing is so short to prep the line for the operation. But there is plenty of time to prep the line further this fall and next spring for an operation early summer. Our corporation is also in the process of purchasing the old Beaches Landing restaurant called Memories, as we want to combine the rail and the Black River in a tourism belt, so to speak. So it gives you the tourism attraction from Carthage, West Carthage, all the way to Lowville and beyond. We would have a rental fleet on the Black River. So, the employment possibilities are 40, 50, maybe 60 people total, between the railroad and the restaurant. The revenue can be expected on the rail bikes. It's demonstrated in the Adirondacks, inner portion of the Adirondacks where they can no longer run. That operation did about $1.5 million, 20,000 people each year for 2 years, and then had to shut down. But that kind of revenue generates tens of thousands of dollars of sales tax revenue for the counties and the state, in addition to providing employment. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I have some pictures of some of this equipment. I'll leave right here if anybody wants to take a look at them.
Right. See what this
I'll
rail
pick 'em-
car thing looks like.
I'll pick them up after the meeting. No questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Lori,
Thank you.
nice to see you, Pete. Anyone else like privilege of the floor? Sheriff?
Good evening. I just want to introduce Mr. Finster. He is the superintendent of the Harrisville School District, and he's come up because he wanted to ask a couple of questions, if he could, just for some clarification with all of us here in regards to the SRO possible position in that school area. He hadn't had the opportunity to get to anybody in a whole manner, so he requested if somebody could speak with you just shortly here and just brief you on what his plans are and what his outlook is for coming up. So I told him I'd be here to assist with that, and any questions we can help him answer, okay? Mr. Finster.
Thank you, Sheriff. So just quick question is, just kind of want to know where we're at. So we budgeted, I had a conversation with Mr. Pichet, I want to say probably initial one, May-ish, and sent him a letter of intent back in June, and kind of been back and forth a little bit, wanting to know what our status was. And I just received a phone call this morning from him saying that he's going to meet with half the board Thursday, and then you guys would make a decision Thursday. He'd call me by noon, let me know what that decision is. I got a call literally an hour later from Sheriff, who said he's been told that it was in January that we'd get an SRO. So I guess I'm just want to know what's the status and where are we at. So it was really my thing.
I can clarify for a moment if that's okay with the board. With January, we have, in the tentative budget for 2019, so that's probably where, the sheriff and I had talked about that for this school year, which I know you're interested in getting this up and running as quickly as possible. We'd have to get permission from the Courts and Law Committee, which meet on Thursday. So that's kind of where the hang-up has been. We've talked about it in Courts and Law, at least for a couple of meetings now. I've chatted with you about some of their concerns going forward, but like I said, I think, like we've talked about, I think everybody's pretty supportive of this initiative. It's just the funding piece and the timing piece, which we're still trying to figure out, but I think that we'll be where we need to be.
Okay, so can I expect, I guess when can I expect an answer to, because I have to answer to my board too, and my board has been under the impression that we were going to get an SRO. We budgeted $55,000 in our district to pay for the actual SRO. I know that doesn't include health benefits, but at the time of my initial conversation, I was told I didn't have to worry about that at this point. So I also let Mr. Pichet know that from here on out, so starting next school year, if I have to budget for their benefits as well, I'll do that. But we, our board is very committed to having an SRO, and I've been under the impression that I was gonna get an SRO, and now my board is really laying on me, wanting to know where we're at, and I don't have an answer for them. So that's really kinda why I'm here.
So what's your discussion been in close among? I mean, we're in the middle of our budget, so it'd be no different than you. I mean, we have a lot of steps, we have a lot of discussion, just like your school board does, when there's a cost that comes up in the middle of your budget. So I guess my thoughts on this, I'm not on that committee, is that that's where we're at. And I've heard bits and pieces of it, but
Well, Ryan, you know, they started it with these questions. I mean, you know, one of the things is Ryan was going back and forth getting information, and usually what we do is budget for the first of the year. Until this gentleman just mentioned this fall. Maybe I don't think I heard that for an RSO, but where we gotta find the money if we gotta pay for it between now and the end of the year.
Right, I understand, and I, just so you guys are aware, that this initially started in February. I had a conversation with Sheriff, then I actually spoke with Mr. Pichet, so I may be way late. And then I was told to just put a letter of intent in, which we did on June 21st. And I was under the assumption that we were all set and ready to go, and then it didn't happen. So, and I'm not trying to cause problems here or waves, I just wanna know if I'm gonna get an SRO, because my board, I have a board meeting Monday night, and they want an answer. And I just need to be able to give them an answer, so.
I'll speak for the committee because I've been there, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, one of the things was we were funding next year's, not this year's. So as far as next year, I think there's a good chance of it. This year, I don't think Sheriff's got enough money left in his budget to make it happen. So the question is whether we can find it for this year or not. I mean, what's generally happened before, we didn't fund the fall, did we? We funded the year before, like South Louis when we started.
We started in September.
But
we
put it together for the year's budget earlier,
Right.
the year before.
And not only that, they also had, they had a grant to cover for.
Well, same thing, well,
portion
Harrisville's
of-
got it
yeah.
in their budget,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Right, you have a grant too, right?
No, we actually budgeted for it.
Budget.
Yeah, so we have $55,000 on our budget line for an SRO. That's what we were told that we should budget for. That's what we did. With the assumption that I didn't have to cover benefits. If I would have known that benefits was gonna be an issue, I would have budgeted like $80,000
Well,
instead.
this year, I mean, because we had started it, but we get talking about it, I mean, potentially we could end up with extra people that we don't need if we start doing this, and each one of them, so we'd be, if we put 4 on, we're talking about $120,000 we gotta come up with.
Right.
Just because we use them part-time or whatever. So we also got talking about that maybe we need to shift it. In other words, you pay for the time they're there, and then they're done, and then we pick them up if we need them for rec or whatever it is. So trying to get us out from under that total cost, and it's been just discussion, nothing's been decided, right?
Right. Because Under Sheriff McIntosh is the one that we had the discussion with, the last one, about the SROs. There was the specific, Harrisville was mentioned in the previous meeting, not this last one.
Right, so what it comes down to is that you're looking at covering the benefits of that, for that SRO officer. That was the extra added expense, correct?
That would
This
be,
year?
yeah, this year, I mean, this coming year, but eventually I think we're gonna consider shifting it to the schools. If they want the RSO, you know, instead of us picking up the benefits, use it for their school year, and then at the point in time, if we want, we pick up everything else.
Is that what we
it's
did
fine.
with South Louis? Was that the same?
Not, well, we've talked about it. We're talking about changing that one, but seeing we've done it with South Louis first, we felt we need to stay with that one for this year. But in the future, we're talking about changing it. And just talk.
Yeah, and I did let Ryan know that, you know, from next school year on, we would be willing to budget for that benefits as well. You know, I think The reason being is I think South Louis is a perfect school district to have an SRO because they're the furthest south in the county, right? And we're the furthest north in the county. So it makes sense. Any respondent to our district is at least 20 minutes. Our state troopers are out of Watertown. That's who we have to call. So we're Troop B out of Watertown. So, you know, God forbid anything was to happen at our school, we're 20-minute response time, easy. You know, even if they're coming out of Governor. So, you know, that's really why we're kind of fighting for this, if you will. And we are willing to budget, you know, in the years coming for the benefits as well. Mr. Pichet had mentioned that to me, and I understand where you guys are coming from totally. We're all tight with budgets, and I get it. But this is something that I know that my community and my board feel really strongly about. And I feel like I've been dragging them out for a long time because I feel like I'm being dragged out for a long time. And I just really want to know a solid answer. If it's going to be January, at least I'll let them know it's going to be January.
Well, we could, let's ask the sheriff. Sheriff, do you have a person you can put in there now?
I do.
Okay, and then we make up they've got the 50,000. We just have to worry about, you know, the three covering the what? You know, September, October, November, 4 months of benefits.
I'll go even one step further if it helps you guys.
Can I have a thought, Mr. Chairman, quickly? Sheriff, if you're moving someone that you already have in your department now, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's already, as far as this year, it's a wash, right? Because
Right.
the benefits are already, they're already in the budget, it's already covered. Unless the sheriff is gonna come for us to replace that job. So, I mean, that would be where they're at in cost, but it's already in the budget, correct?
Mhm.
Am I correct in saying?
Yeah, the person that we have was the SRO down in South Louis.
Yep.
So
Well, South Louis gonna do it again, right?
they have the person there right now today.
Okay, so you're still gonna need one more than you had.
We'll need somebody back in the road patrol, yes.
Right, so somewheres along the line, you're gonna wanna rehire someone.
Correct. You have to be backfill for that, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And that would be set up as a lateral transfer, so there's no cost as far as sending somebody to the academy.
Well, could you hold off until January for that position?
Can we hold off till then?
Yeah.
That's not, I'll do the best I can to cooperate with you, you know that, sure. You know, I'll do the best I can.
If I can go one step further too.
Yeah, we're just giving an answer right now.
We don't, do you know where we're at with the budget too?
Oh.
If I can go one
this
step
is
further,
budget neutral.
we have Title IV monies that are new to us that we can use on an SRO. It's an extra $10,000, but it's
But
something.
if we can't fund it, it needs to be set aside.
Yeah, right.
So,
Year.
I mean,
He's
you
already
two were
paid
just
it.
talking about it. If you listen, he just said that he possibly has the money to cover the extra cost if it comes down to that.
Well, if it's $28,000, I think that's what Mr. Pichet quoted me on the benefits. I don't have $28,000, but I certainly have 10. We got Title IV money this year for the first time. It can absolutely go, it's all about school safety. It can go to an SRO. That's $10,000, so I do have that.
and it's shortened, I mean, we've only got X amount.
We can discuss it more on Thursday. You said the committee had no problem with that. And Mr. Finch just wanted an opportunity to see everybody and hear a little clarification on his part.
It would cost $28,000 for 4 months.
So we'll bring it forward Thursday at the committee and go from there.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And if you do have an answer Thursday, if somebody could give me a shout so I can at least let my board know Monday night, either way, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it very much.
Okay, is there anyone else here for privilege of the floor? If not, we'll move on to presentation of communications and notices. Terry?
Pursuant to to Section 5, Subdivision 2 of Local Law 2 of 2007, Code Enforcement Officer Donald Millett has submitted a report after analyzing the property located at 5495 River Street in Lowville, owned by Cole Fowler. The dwelling was severely damaged by fire on June 23rd. There has been no apparent effort to secure the building and or to stabilize the damaged building elements, which he cautions could become airborne in a wind event and cause harm to someone traveling along the street. Mr. Millett submits to the Board of Legislators that the building is unsafe and not repairable and should be demolished and removed. Also, former District Number 1 legislator Philip Hathaway has corresponded his opinion on the initiative to change to an appointed county treasurer. Paraphrasing, he states choosing a county treasurer should be left in the voters' hands. The voters almost always get it right. They certainly got it right by electing our current treasurer, who I personally know has done an awesome job. Although I didn't have as much interface with them, by all accounts, her predecessors did as well. Trust the voters as they trusted you, he concludes. And that concludes presentation.
Thank you, Terry. I missed an item here, so report of the Rules and Legislation Committee, approved Rule 6.
No, we did that. Yeah, we did that.
Reports of county officers and departments.
Legislators have received copies of the Treasurer's August report, the August 24 Highway and Solid Waste Audit Reports, minutes of the May 15 Public Health Services Advisory Committee, the August 15 Youth Bureau Advisory Board, and July 10 Community Services Board meetings. The Workers' Compensation Legislative Committee and Lewis County Self-Insurance Administrator have distributed copies of the 2019 estimate and apportionment of expenses to legislators. In consideration of the heightened employment risk, it bears mentioning that except for a minor tick bite incident, the Recreation, Forestry, and Parks Department has not had a reportable claim over the past 5 years. The Sealer of Weights and Measures, James Richmeyer, submitted his July activity report to be placed on file with the clerk of the board. And that concludes reports.
Thank you. Reports of standing committees, John. We'll start with Social
Thank you, Mr.
Services
Chairman.
Officer of the Aging and Youth Bureau.
I got a lot. I just got some stuff here from the Youth Bureau. Lewis County Night Out's coming up September 7th from 5:30 to 7:30 at the fairgrounds. The opening ceremonies will begin at 6 and they'll recognize local volunteer fire departments. Ken Blankenberg will have a representative from his office there. Cassie Forbes, coordinator of the United Prevention Coalition of Lewis County, formerly known as YA Coalition, provided an overview of the mission and vision of the coalition. The coalition is a drug and alcohol prevention awareness agency. The Youth Bureau will assist the coalition in their endeavors by periodically inviting them to present updates at the Youth Bureau meetings. And I have a bunch of resolutions from DSS in the packet, and that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
John, any questions for John? If not, we'll move to Randy, Taxation, Elections, Information Technology.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a very brief report. There's a state primary election on 9/13/18 for the Democrats and Reform parties only, with 2,600 Lewis County eligible voters. This is the first time for this kind of a primary in Lewis County. And that's basically all I have to report.
Question for Randy? Thank you. Moving to Brian, County Officers, Veterans, Junkyards, HR.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have with the Junkyard Review Board met here this month, and even though that we've gotten a lot of site violations here in the last month and a half, 2 months, be happy to know that I got a report that at the Review Board 10 people showed up that had violations. Seven of them had reported to the review board that they had taken care of the issue that they were having violations for. Two gentlemen from West Leiden also were there. So the one, the open sky garage, I do believe that that's going to be supposed to be cleaned up. They gave them a stop or a date to have that done by. So it's working. They had a good report. The review board worked very well. So on the HR end, of course you have the normal resolutions for refill vacancies and stuff. But I just want to make one statement about this treasurer thing through the HR. In the paper, it said that the Ways and Means and all the HR were for putting this resolution forward. That's incorrect. Andrea voiced her opinion on that, and I was the one that wanted to move it forward. They agreed to move it forward with me, knowing that the 10 of us would discuss this tonight, and with us all realizing that the voters have the final say in all this. We have no decision. We'll just bring it to the floor to discuss, to see if it's something that we want to do. So that's from the HR.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions for Brian? If not, Jerry, Ways and Means, Buildings and Grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have two motions. Motion to authorize supervisor of Buildings and Grounds, Matt O'Connor, to purchase a floor cleaning machine for JCC Lewis County Educational Center at state bid price of $5,527.15. The purchase will be covered by capital equipment fund. So I'll make that a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Jerry, second by Ron. Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And then the second motion I have is a motion to authorize a phase 1 change order for JCC Educational Center project for cement vestibule pad in the amount of $5,484.93. And I'll make that a motion. We did get a cut by about half.
Moved by Jerry, second by Dick. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Carried.
You gonna do the radio?
No, if you
You're on the radio for the 3 tower sites. We should be done with everything by the end of October, if not before, and then the overlay. They're there. I can't tell you which towers are on now, running the cable and then putting some of the equipment in the shelter. So everything's chugging along. We will be right at the end. 3 antennas we're waiting on. It was a fairly good lead time, but also the FCC, because they got to be directional antennas. Our signal is not supposed to go outside the county, so they had to get the antennas that they would let us use for those sites. So that's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Question for Jerry? Thank you, Jerry.
You're welcome.
Tom, Public Health, Community Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. September is National Recovery Month. Recovery Month is a national observance held every September to educate Americans that substance use, treatment, and mental health services can enable those with a mental and/or substance use disorder to live a healthy and rewarding life. The National Institute of Drug Abuse estimates that substance misuse extracts more than $740 billion annually in costs related to crime, lost work, productivity, and health care. In 2016, about 333,000 adolescents aged 12 to 17 had both a substance use disorder and a major depressive episode in the past year. And 239,000 of adolescents in this age group received substance use disorder treatment or mental health treatment. Recovery Month spreads the message that behavioral health is essential to health, prevention works, treatment is effective, and people recover. The agencies in Lewis County that service this are Credo Community Center for Treatment of Addiction, Mountain View Prevention Services, Northern Regional Center for Independent Living, and the Transitional Living Services of Northern New York. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Questions for Tom? Thanks, Tom. Ron, Economic Development, Planning, Forestry and Parks.
I have nothing new to report.
Thank you, Ron. Greg, Courts of Law Enforcement, Emergency Management.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was quite a discussion at the Courts and Law with the, we did discuss a little bit on the SRO, but more on they're in the packet here is the part-time investigator. It is actually for the district attorney's office. The cost is less than what we had thought a committee. Put this person on to help with the narcotics issues within the county. It's somewhere around, I think it's a 10 or 1,000. But we said we'd bring it in front of the whole board and they could have their say, and that way it would be everybody'd have their say and be fair across the board. And it came out less than what she had anticipated originally. She said 20,000. We thought we could cover it with contingency if everybody went along with budgeting that position. Anything else? Anything with the drug task force? Sergeant Knight, I asked a question with Sergeant Knight, and he said he'd like that, even though we're sunsetting that position for December 31st, he'd rather have that person for 3 months than not have him at all. So that's the way we looked at it for that part of the discussion. And that was about it for the Courts and Law.
Greg,
Oh, I do have some motions. Yeah, I got it. I remembered it, Terry. I have a motion to authorize Director Mary Jo Burkhardt to refill a full-time probation officer position effective immediately due to a resignation.
Moved by Greg, second by John. Discussion?
It's all in the budget, right?
Yeah, to refill.
Yeah.
A motion that the Board of Legislators hereby authorizing Lewis County 911 dispatch.
Larry, did you get a
Oh,
we didn't
vote
vote
on
on
that?
We didn't vote on it.
Greg's trying to rush me.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Aye. Motion that the Board of Legislators hereby authorize the Lewis County 911 Dispatch Center to register with FCC as an official site to accept emergency cell phone texts now that the center has implemented the technology to accept and respond to those calls.
Moved by Greg, second by Brian. Discussion?
What's the impact of something like that? Is there any?
I can answer that, Mr. Chairman. It basically will allow people to text 911 and it will be received by dispatch.
And no additional manpower or anything?
No, it comes right through their, whatever you call those things.
And it can be triangulated so they get an idea. We got a lot of areas that you can't use voice, but sometimes the text speaks for themselves. Kind of enhancing what we already have.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
That's it for my.
I got a question for Greg.
Okay, here we go.
Is our DA gonna hire somebody that we can use in the county this time, or are we gonna have to get approval by the governor?
It's somebody we can use.
That's all I wanna know.
Thank you, Greg. Dick, hospital?
Yep. Okay, first up, during our public comment, we had a gentleman show up with his sister and another lady voicing concerns of the care that their family members were getting in the nursing home. We listened to their concerns, asked them to put them in writing with explanations for them. We formed a committee to look into the concerns, and we've communicated to the families, and we will address their concerns as they need to be addressed. The Employee of the Month for July was Deborah Longway, Director of Nutritional Services, Employee of the Month. And you may have noticed in the paper she got at least statewide, Jerry, was it statewide recognition or national? National recognition for some of her nutritional ideas and stuff. So you see Deborah Longway during the day, congratulate her and wish her well. The auxiliary reported that they had $14,900 worth of scholarships, which went to 14 different Lewis County students. Amber Bailey, Jordan Cornell, Sierra Egan, Leah Knapp, Catherine Leindecker, Dawn O'Connor, Allie Rousum, Drew Baker, Connor Demo, Emily Finn, Emily Lighthall, Caleb Mayer, Hannah Root, and Charlie Zachary. Mr. Carrier, CEO, introduced Dr. Catherine McHugh. She's a local student of Laval Academy in SUNY Upstate, and she's going to be working for Laval Medical Associates. She will offer up obstetrical services as well, and we welcomed her to our facility and to join our program. Year-to-date surplus, $8,049,846 versus a budgeted surplus of $587,154. Couple of things coming up on the agenda. The Lewis County Hospital Foundation Annual Gala is Saturday, September 22nd. It's going to be at the Elks Club this year in Laval. Ms. Joanne Rubart at 315-376-5110. We'd be glad to sell you some tickets. And I would encourage all of the legislators that can to try to make that. We've been a little lax in the past with one or two of us, but the hospital is one of the biggest things we've got in the county, and I think as public officials we owe them to show support. This is one of the biggest fundraisers for the year. In addition to that, the Lewis County General Hospital 11th Annual Breast Cancer Awareness Dinner is scheduled for Tuesday, October 16th, and that again is going to be at the Laval Elks Lodge. That sells out fast, so if you've got family members that want to go to that, give them a heads up. Tickets are available. Mrs. Denise Hirsch, 315-376-5235. Barring any questions, is my report.
Questions are good? Thanks, Nick. Andrea, Transportation and Solid Waste.
I have three motions for transportation. I have a motion to approve the second lowest bid from NOCO of $8.04 a gallon for CK-15E40 bulk oil, effective on 8/9/2018. Stadium International, as the awarded low bidder, had notified the county that they were no longer able to provide the product.
Moved by Andrea, second by John. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, I have a motion to fill the vacant deputy superintendent of highway.
Moved by Andrea, second by John. Discussion.
This is again a budgeted position that was filled by a promotion or something. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, my next motion is to fill the vacant automotive maintenance supervisor.
Moved by Andrea, second by John. Discussion.
How did this one come about?
Because people got moved up.
Okay, so this is in the budget as well?
Yeah.
Okay, it's all fine. Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Yep.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, now, I just want to say for the county, The crews have been working installing new 10-inch water main at the JCC project. And I want to give Warren a plug because he blasted 230 feet of ditch line, 7 feet deep by 6 feet wide, so the last section of the pipe could be laid. And that is probably finished by now. I know we provided him or helped him with his license, and it is being used. Okay. For solid waste, we had a discussion we need to replace an 18-year-old backhoe in the future, and we are looking into that, and I'm sure we'll discuss it again at our meeting. I'm not sure if we're going to purchase or if we're going to lease. We talked about that as well. Also, the Household Hazardous Waste Day will be held on Saturday, September 8th, 2018, which is Saturday, at the Lowville Transfer Station from 8 a.m. until noon. And Dave covers the cost. We also shared a discussion regarding the changes in global recycling markets. And things are getting difficult. We're lucky that we can take ours to Oneida Herkimer. Also, Pete Wood reported that Dink is considering a program of recycling ag bag material. Dink has shared that the Tri-County region has that highest usage of ag bag material compared to any of the 3 counties in the United States. Also, sap tubing would be accepted. And now, I would like to make a few comments. I sit on the Soil and Water Board, and as you know, the plans are underway for the Family Farm Day that will be held at the Gracie Farms on October 13th, 2018, and that you are all invited, and I hope that you will be able to come. The annual fish sale will be held on October 12th of 2018, if anyone is interested. And the district has been utilizing its interseeder to plant cover crops on farms to help reduce soil erosion and keep crops, fields healthier and more productive. Over 134.4 acres of cover crops have been interseeded between corn rows, and 373.6 acres of non-till planting for a total of 508 acres planted so far this year. So the interseeder has been very popular. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions for Andrew? Thank you, Andrew. County manager report, Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few notes on the 2019 budget. We got the process started a little bit early this year, but Patty and I have met with every department at this point and reviewed their initial requests. I would say that all of our departments did a really nice job. We basically have a zero increase budget with the exception of a few items which I'll outline for you here. Obviously, we will stick to the union negotiated wage schedule, which means that we have various increases in different departments, but roughly a 2% increase across the board. 2% increase in health insurance premiums, which is what we kind of discussed about 6 months ago when we ended the 10% policy, but we still want to go up 2% annually, so that's in the budget. From the revenue side, we are budgeting $11.9 million of sales tax. If we hit $12 million this year, it'll be the first year that we've hit the $12 million mark ever. So that's good news for sales tax. We hope it can continue. And one aspect we were able to include at the request of the Ways and Means Committee was a $100,000 reduction in fund balance at this point. So last year, remember, we used $820,000 of fund balance. This year, we're hoping to only use $720,000. So we're trying to wean ourselves off that amount there. We've also added a 5-year capital budget this year. We're working on that. We should have that for you guys very shortly. And there's still a few items that we have left to figure out and put into place. The enterprise car replacement plan. We've still got to get that number solidified for 2019. The IGT amount still has to be solidified for 2019. We're working very closely with the hospital to formulate a plan that's going to be best for everyone for that number. And the final thing that really is going to help us determine and where we can turn everything over to the board to mull over it and discuss is we have to wait for the final assessment rolls, which come in October, and that determines our tax cap, our rates. Over the year, we've had some properties come on the tax roll, we've had some come off. So in order to figure out exactly where our tax cap is and what rate changes we're going to need, we've got to wait for that. So I do have parts of the tentative budget here. If anyone would like to sit down and go through that, or go through any particular department, just let me know. We'll set up the time, and we can have that meeting. So just let me know. With the JCC project, as Andrea said, our highway department has finished their rolls up at the site. They did a fantastic job, I would say, and saved us some significant money. So certainly very positive. As you know, the phase 2 bids came back. Were higher than what we had hoped and anticipated. We're going to have to get into that a little bit more. There's some issues with some of the bids and some legal questions that we need to go over with our attorney. So we'll make time for that at some point tonight, so that Joan can fill you in on some of the options going forward with that. And that's my report.
Any questions for Ryan? Thank you, Ryan. Patty, treasurer's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have the balances for tonight. Special legislative contingency, $70,637.08. Regular contingency, $278,357.23. Capital data processing, $96,983.58. Capital equipment, highway portion, $158,431.24. County portion, $344,435.35. Sales tax to date, $6,614,747.71. We are on target to go over budget. Hospital repayment, they have made all of their payments, and they have no payments left. Internal service fund, we did finally receive the June and July reports, and as you can see, they were positive balance. They were small, but they were positive balances. So our fund balance is at $3,828,366.54. And that's my report, unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Report of the Ways and Means Committee for Rule 7.
Ways and Means Committee reports they've examined the claims presented for payment in the total amount of $1,254,738.65 and recommend that they be audited and allow for the amounts claimed. That is stated by the entire committee. And we'll need a motion.
Moved by John, second by Andrea. Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
The first resolution then is auditing and allowing the claims in the amount of $1,254,738.65.
Moved by Gary, second by Brian. Discussion, all in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Burns,
Yes. Yes.
Chartrand,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Colzer,
Yes.
Bushos,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Mowerhand,
Yes.
Mosier,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Dahlhoff.
Yes.
Local law introductory number 4, 2018 is presented. Local law to authorize overriding the tax levy limit established by general municipal law for the Lewis County 2019 budget.
Moved by
Now, resolution number 287 then is to set the public hearing for that proposed local law for October 2nd at 5 p.m.
Moved by Brian, second by Jerry. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
We have local law introductory number 5, to abolish the office of elected county treasurer and to create and assign all the duties and responsibilities of that office to a new appointed officer, the director of finance. And the resolution then is to set the public hearing for that. Resolution 288 is to fix the public hearing date for that proposed local law for September 18 at 5 p.m.
Moved by Brian, second by Greg. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just give a procedural history on this. The municipal home rule law sets forth that a mandatory referendum would have to be held after a local law gets adopted, or certainly approved by a board, and then it has to be no less than 60 days after the adoption. So just so the board understands, this resolution is to set the public hearing. You're not voting on the actual introductory law yet. That would be at on the date of the public hearing. This resolution has it set for September 18th because we believed that we would have to have something into the Board of Elections by October 1st to put it on the ballot for the general election. According to the municipal home rule law, that we don't have enough time to do that, so the vote could not be at the general election. It would have to be at a special election between now and probably next May if you wanted to take effect before somebody started to run for the office if it were voted down. So the public hearing actually could be held at the next general meeting, our regular monthly meeting, which would be October 2nd. So one thing that could be done is that you could amend this to have that public hearing on October 2nd. But right now you can have discussion on whether or not you want to even set the public hearing. And if you do, I would recommend that we set it for October 2nd and not have this other date where you have to come in for a special hearing.
So do we want to start with discussion on this, or does somebody want to make a motion to amend it?
I guess I have a question. What caused this event to take place?
One of the things we talked at HR is that, I'll give you an example, Brian. As of right now, we know of no one within Patty's department that wants to run for this position as of right now. Brian Mosier could run for this. If it's a popularity vote or people feel that I'm qualified to do it, I get in there, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. So that's what we're up against. And then I'm not saying that Patty she's the only one I work with, and Patty has done an outstanding job. She really has. And I'm sure that the past county legislators or the treasurers have. But the funding streams are coming in 100 different ways now. I just think that this is a far more complicated position than it was 4 years ago. And I'm not doing this, I know the newspaper, or there's been comments out there, not from the newspaper, but on different comments made that we want control. If we want to control, we have control now. We have a Republican majority here, and we have a Republican treasurer. We don't operate like that. Actually, if people are worried about that, we'd have less control if you had someone appointed, because it's a biased opinion that's sitting there. It's not an elected political position. So that's my feelings on it, and we've discussed that. Andrea had a good point. None of us in our HR committee felt that didn't know if we wanted to take it out of the voters' hands. But also the voters don't know what we're dealing with either, as far as the funding and the complicating procedures and everything that Patty has to do. So And I just use me for an example. You wouldn't want me in there for treasurer, but if I got elected, you're stuck with me. All I'm gonna do is sit in there and sign checks.
Yeah, and then we end up having to hire a director of finance.
You're gonna have to hire someone that
Then we have
oversees
another-
it, and
right.
Patty's
$100,000.
office could definitely steer us in the right way if you have someone in there, I'm sure. But is that something that we wanna take a chance at? That's my feeling, so. And that's the only reason, and we don't have a choice. The public gets to vote on it, so they have the ultimate choice, so. If the voters of Lewis County don't want it and think that we're nuts for bringing it forward, if we do, then that's fine, I'm okay with that. We will work with with whoever we end up with in the office, and we could end up with an outstanding person, but we live in this world of what if. What if we don't end up with that person that knows?
Well, I mean, couldn't we come up with some ideas of the qualifications a person's gotta have to
I don't believe so. The only one I think by public law, state law, or even government law that you can do that with is the DA.
I did find out, no, you can do it with a comptroller position.
A comptroller position.
Right,
Which is like a director of finance.
Which is like a director of finance, but the comptroller can be an elected position. So that would satisfy everybody.
Okay, now that's the first, we haven't discussed that.
That would satisfy everybody. It would be an elected position, but they'd actually have to have the qualifications to do the job, just like the DA would have to. Erie County's got it, or, other counties have already done this.
Don't we have to be a certain type of government to do that? Don't we have to be a charter government to do that, or not?
We can do it, it's just that we are a non-charter county.
Right.
So we would be subject to bringing a mandatory referendum to change something like that.
Okay, all right.
But it'd still be in the public's hands.
Yes.
Right.
But they would the person would have to qualify for the job, just like the DA. DA has to be a lawyer, So.
No, it still would be.
Oh, it'd be
It still would be.
elected.
It's just that we can set, but it sounds of what Greg's saying,
You have to
we'd
have
be
it.
able
You
to
have
set
to-
requirements,
Yep.
which,
You'd have to
I like that, I mean, that's.
Well, I think we got a lot of questions and we need more discussion. What Greg mentioned, that may be a win-win for both sides. We get someone in there, we know it's gonna be doing the job, and the taxpayers still get the vote, but, I think I would like to see more information on the comptroller and what we'd have to do there before we start down the road. And I guess the other question is that, it's not that we want to control, but, and I do trust the taxpayers and stuff like that, but, at least have this open discussion, what our concerns are. I mean, if they still want to vote it down, whether it's a comptroller or whether it's us appointing someone in-house, that we've had the discussion and they have a full understanding why we have our concerns.
Yeah, I think the comptroller, they still elect that person, so that gives the voters, so there really isn't any difference in what they're doing now, except there's qualifications. Because otherwise, if you just go with, you can't look at what we had previously, because Patty worked for the treasurer, she was deputy treasurer, she has vast experience. So did Vicky Roy worked for Dick Fowler, so she had all that experience. We have got nobody now that wants, Patty, what to do to them on down there.
They saw what Patty went
They saw Patty going, oh, I can't wait to get out of here.
And Patty brought 30-some years to the table.
Yeah, exactly, so that.
And she, questioned it too. So.
And I think that's why we asked, if I speak right for the HR, we just wanted this to come to this position so we can talk about it. I think this is a discussion we all needed to have. And it was a way to move forward. Because, we have so many resolutions in front of us, we tend to forget to discuss stuff that we might think that we want to discuss. So this is one way that we felt that at least this way here, we're sitting and we're talking about it. The public can hear what our concerns are and we move forward. But ultimately, the public has a say in it. So
would the comptroller position come up for public vote? as opposed to a treasurer position. I guess is that the first
Oh,
step?
Yes, I think
Yeah.
Joe said that's the referendum.
We still have to, yeah, we
We'd have
still have to
to-
propose
We would
it.
still have
And
to-
then
The public would vote to,
vote
okay,
to-
let's
yeah.
change it to a
Comptroller, and then they
Right.
vote who the comptroller would be.
Right.
I think it stands a better chance of
Yeah.
going out
Oh,
like
yeah.
that than
Right
it does
now.
I
this
do
point.
too.
Cause I think it would down Blake's lower.
You'd have somebody that had some qualifications.
So the underlying concern is to ensure that someone that runs for this position, if it stays elected, has the proper qualifications to do the job. So if we move forward with this first scenario, the question to the voters would be, do you want to run the risk of having to hire a fiscal officer in the event that the person that wins the election is unable to or unqualified to fulfill the duties? That would be an additional cost to the taxpayers. If we want to move forward with that, we would vote to pass this, fixing the public hearing date, or we can take it back to committee for further discussion on moving forward with a comptroller position that puts qualifications on the person that's running for election.
I think that's what
I think that's
where it should go.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can, I would also like to research that a little bit further about the elected controller and make sure for our non-charter county that we can do that.
So you want to table this public hearing resolution and send it back to committee for further investigation?
You need a motion?
I move for that.
Moved by Randy to table it, second by Ron. Any further discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's, resolution's tabled.
The only other thing, regardless of where we end up, it's gonna require a referendum.
Yes.
I believe
Yes.
so.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a vote either way.
Authorizing Lewis County Building and Codes Department to amend commercial building permit application to include commercial solar projects.
Moved by Gary, second by John. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Authorizing contract award for removal and replacement of shingle roof over county clerk's office at the courthouse.
Moved by Brian, second by Dick. Discussion?
Is that a shingle roof or a?
Yep.
Yeah.
Why use a shingle roof instead of a single roof?
Multiple years.
I thought we had a question on that, or did that go through?
About the type of roof?
No,
There
whether
were
we
two
accepted the bid.
Yes, there were two companies that bid this project. One bid was not deemed complete. They did not fill out the proper paperwork that was required in RFP. So the secondary provider, which was bid at $13,000, was the winning bid, which is also the same company that's doing the painting of the courthouse starting here this week probably.
Hey, thank you, Ryan.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Designate the Lewis County Chamber of Commerce as tourist promotion agency and committing matching funds.
Moved by Ron, second by Andrea. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To transfer funds, community services.
Moved by Brian, second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To transfer funds, consumer affairs.
Moved by Jerry, second by Ron. Discussion? Jerry?
And that is paid 2017 too.
Do what?
the weights and measures guy. That's his.
Yeah, but I guess I just had a question. How come we're short?
This is from the first year of our shared service agreement with Jefferson County. The original proposal had an amount of projected savings that was in the contract, but it also had a provision that if the actual amount came in differently, that we would adjust it. So we were expecting a bill that was $17,000 left after we combined all departments and got the contract up and running. It was a little bit more. So we're adjusting that payment.
Okay, thank you.
So is the 2017, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorizing agreement with New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, District Attorney, age of prosecution.
Moved by Gary, second by Greg. Discussion.
Is this in the, okay, yeah, I read it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
To appropriate funds, District Attorney.
Moved by Gary, second Greg. Discussion. All in favor? Whoops, sorry, Dick, go ahead.
Yeah, the ADA, the state still has not approved that position to function at full capacity, is that correct?
That's correct, because they're not in session right now.
And are we paying that at full performance level right now then?
Are we, what do you mean paying that?
Paying position.
Yeah.
Yes, she's has a salary of $30,000 a year.
There's no way to communicate to the state that hurry up and pass that so she can function at a full level?
I would say
We've
that we
made
communicated.
many calls, and I know the DA has also made calls. We've
Okay.
all,
So you're pushing it and just can't get any place?
it's politics.
Okay. Thank you.
You should have went to the state fair and went on a ride. It might have helped you out.
Thank you, that's all I got.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Appropriate funds, District Attorney.
Moved by Greg, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Levy compensation plan with reference to District Attorney.
Moved by Jerry, second by Greg. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Transfer funds, District Attorney.
Moved by Brian, second by Greg. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, Emergency Management Department.
Moved by John, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
To rescind Resolution 265 of 2018, Transportation Department.
Moved by John, second by Andrew. Discussion.
So what's this rescinded?
I got one question. I mean, what are we selling, like vehicles and stuff?
Yeah, this is
Yes.
And that doesn't
from
go
solar
back into
equipment.
capital? What are you grinning
Well,
about?
I'm just, Joan's been making me laugh
Oh.
over there.
Well, the thing is we pay
Sometime-
for them out of this fund,
But
and
there
when we
was
sell them, that'll go back into
These
this fund.
equipment, this piece of equipment was sold before the capital fund. It was from the machinery fund. So when you sell a piece of equipment back, you can put the funds back in proportionally of where they came from.
But we originally paid for them when we bought it. So it's not extra funds, I guess what I'm saying. So in the future, can we put it back in the capital project?
Yes.
Or do I, when we get done with this one, I need to do a motion?
I don't know, Jerry, I don't know
Okay,
procedure.
we'll talk more.
But when you have a piece of equipment, say we had a dump truck that we use 50% of the time in the enterprise fund, which is solid waste, and we use 50% of the time for Jackie's crew in the general fund. When we went to sell that piece of equipment, you can divvy the proceeds of the sale back 50-50. So we don't always do that, but there was a special request from the highway department that we do it for the sale of equipment, and the committee approved that.
I'm good. The solid waste isn't a good example though, Ryan, because they're enterprises, so they keep all their funds anyway. So.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
To appropriate funds, Transportation Department.
Moved by, I think Gunshot, right? Moved by Greg, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Number 302 is withdrawn. Number 303, transfer funds, information technology.
Moved by Ron, second by Andrea. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
304, approving agreement between the county public health on behalf of the county and health research.
Moved by Gary, second by John. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing agreement between public health and Shape America.
Moved by Randy, second by Andrea. Discussion.
What actually is this?
So this is part of our community health improvement plan that was developed by the public health department last year, and this is a money that goes to the school districts to train, provide a training class for teachers to reduce childhood obesity. It's $2,400, $2,500.
Oh, it's actually for children then. Okay, I didn't realize that.
Well, no, it's a training class for the teachers to
Yeah, okay.
provide programs for the children.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Opposed? Motion carried.
Regarding seeker review of a new trail to be added to the county ATV trail system and declaring no significant impact for the Durkish family irrevocable trust.
Moved by Jerry, second by Tom. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I'm sorry that I missed that, Larry, but we should have closed the public hearing first. So if you
No, you
could
didn't
do that
miss it
now.
There are no further comments on any of this public hearing. Anyone have any comments? If not, we will close the public hearing.
Thank you. Resolution to incorporate the addition of the Durkish property into the trail system.
Moved by Tom, second by Randy. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To transfer funds, recreation, forestry, and parks fund.
Moved by Andrea, second by Ron. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, sheriff's department.
Moved by Someone, John, second by Greg, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
To appropriate funds, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Jerry, second Greg, discussion?
Do we already run out of the funds for that then? That's what we're doing here?
This is, for the damaged ATV, I believe.
Vehicle repair.
It says vehicle repair. Then we're increasing funds, so I assume we must be out of our budgeted money for vehicle repair. I didn't heard that before.
Well, it usually gets reappropriated back in for the repairs.
Oh, okay.
Ask
So we're
Patty.
just moving from one account to
Just
the other.
ask Patty, to make sure.
Let's just move from one account to the
They're
other.
using their federal funds, their federal funds, their trust federal funds to pay for a repair.
Okay, that answers it, thank you.
For the UTV, right? One who was in the accident.
Yes,
Honestly,
I
I
believe
think-
so. We've had 2 vehicles in accidents recently, so I think that's where they could be, yes.
All in favor?
Yep.
Opposed? Carries.
Authorizing extension modification agreement with Syracuse University for the governance structure for the mobile radio system.
Moved by Brian, second by Tom, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Amending compensation plan with reference to social services.
Moved by John, second by Tom, discussion? All in favor?
I've got a question.
Oops,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I just wanna know how much the salary was. There's no dollar amount, that's for C-29.
Yes.
So it's a budget neutral. What we're doing here is we're taking 2 part-time workers that we usually use in community services, and we think that one single heap worker, part-time, that's a retired person that is gonna come back and work a little bit, can do just as much as those 2 seasonal people for the same price. So
So C-29 salary is the same as the C9?
2 C9s.
Two C9. Gotcha.
So it's 24 something?
25.
Yeah, 1 part-time replacing 2 part-time.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Authorizing the agreement between social services and Hand in Hand Early Childhood Center.
Moved by John, second by Andrea, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Authorizing contract award for armed security guard services at the DSS building.
Moved by Jerry, second by Tom, discussion?
It's gone up again. There you go. Another increase. Whether it's only our 25% or not, I still disagree with that whole scenario up there. Could have done the same thing with bulletproof glass and the whole talk to him. And a buzzer at the door. That guard doesn't do squat. I walked in that building, walked right up through. He just sits in his little office and watches you walk by. He doesn't want you. Used to what? I've done it 3 times. I've gone through there 3 times, Dick, and he's never even stepped within an inch of me with any wands. Yeah, okay.
Maybe knows who we are.
I doubt it. I don't know him.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So Greg opposed, motion carries.
Number 315 has been withdrawn. 316, authorizing an agreement between the DSS and Lewis County Opportunities.
Moved by Brian, second by John. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorizing agreement between DSS and US Care Systems.
Moved by Andrea, second by John. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution setting 2019 workers' compensation apportionment.
Moved by Brian, second by Ron. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
To appropriate funds for the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act.
Moved by Jerry, second by John. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
To appropriate funds for the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act.
Moved by Jerry, second by Randy. Discussion.
The difference in these two?
Different programs.
Just different programs, okay.
These four resolutions are part of our partnership with the workplace in Jefferson County to provide work employment and training.
Okay. Yep.
Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds for Workforce Innovation.
Moved by John, second by Ron. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
To transfer funds Workforce Investment Act.
Moved by Jerry, second by John. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Amending the compensation plan with reference to the Lewis County General Hospital.
Moved by Dick, second by Jerry.
So
Discussion.
these new positions, Dick?
Yeah, we have bought out a practice up there and these will take over. in that
Oh,
practice.
so they get to, come on to all our benefit
Well,
packages, right?
Not all of them, because there were some of them are retired, definitely new people.
New people coming on to our retirement
Yep.
system.
Yep.
New costs to the county. Right? New costs to the county, taxpayers.
Well, I would hope that they'd be budget neutral because the practice will make a profit in the exercise of their business.
Well, they're probably, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know necessarily up there. So they're adding on new positions.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
We have one late resolution. Amending compensation plan with reference to the Human Resources and Community Services Departments.
Moved by Brian, second by Tom. Discussion.
I got a question for you, Brian.
Yep.
Okay, HR, well, doesn't he has two people? He has a full-timer?
One full-time and one part-time.
Why does he need two people?
There's always been two people.
Where?
There's always been two people. You had Mary Lou and you had Beth Cole. They were both full-time people.
Yeah, but
The
Mary
last-
Lou did her own.
And you had Jim Swartz and Chris when you come in, so you had three people. That's all you have to do now. Actually, you have less now, because you had Chris, you have a full-time person up there and a part-time. Whereas you used to have two full-time people up there with Mary Lou. And she,
Why can't you just bring them down into one office and not have somebody up on the third
well,
floor?
where are you gonna put them? Where are you gonna put them down here? That's all set up for the technology room for training and stuff.
Just
No,
seems like-
I understand what you're
it
saying.
seems like we're paying for an extra part-time person we really don't need.
Well, this resolution reduces the cost, I believe.
By us splitting with community services, you're actually dropping your total cost by $3,000.
It's still a cost, right?
Well, I understand that, but We're reducing it, Greg. It's
Reducing
better
it,
than
but it's
adding.
still an egg. It's
Yeah.
still a
Well,
cost.
shoot, then why don't we get rid of everyone? The county reduce all the costs.
There you go.
There you go.
Need a motion.
I'm just asking because
No, I
seems like,
understand, and I'm
it seems
explaining
like
to you.
it's more than he needs.
Well, I don't
I mean,
know.
he's only
I don't
one
work
guy.
out there, so I don't know how much work they're doing up there, but apparently
Maybe he
Chris
could move his
feels-
office up there.
Well, if there was room, I'm sure that they would do that, Greg. I know that it's an inconvenience, he's down there and they're up there, I understand that. But, I mean, space is a big problem with this whole county, so, I mean, we're doing the best with what we have, so. And we did reduce, I know that $4,000 isn't a lot of money, but it is a reduction, so.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Joe Greg opposed? Motion carried. Tom, did you vote?
Yes. Peter's giving you crap.
Here's one black too. Yeah, mine did too.
Oh, I feel bad.
I just shared that. Jerry's old school.
I thought it was a Russian.
I share it. Yeah, you share it.
That's right. Never locks up.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to request executive session to talk to the board about the potential sale of a county parcel. And also I'm going to be going into attorney-client privileged exempt session with the board to discuss some bid irregularities and the legal options that the board will have on that. And to update you on some negotiations on maple tree.
Okay, so you're requesting an attorney-client session. But before we do that, we want to do the very business of proclamation.
Yes. you want me to- The proclamation for the Lewis County Night Out, the Lewis County Youth Bureau, Bravo Police Department, Lewis County Opportunities, and Northern Regional Center for Independent Living are sponsoring a unique crime and drug violence prevention event entitled Lewis County Night Out. The event will be held Friday, September 7th. The opening ceremony will be in recognition of Lewis County volunteer fire departments. This annual event provides a unique opportunity for the county in promoting police-community partnerships and cooperation in crime prevention efforts. Lewis County plays a vital role in assisting the Village Police Department, Lewis County Sheriff's Office, New York State Police, DEC, and Forest Rangers through joining crime, drug, and violence prevention efforts in Lewis County and are locally supporting Lewis County Night Out event. It is essential that all citizens of Lewis County be aware of the importance of crime prevention programs and the impact that their participation can have on reducing crime, drugs, and violence in Lewis County. Police community partnerships, neighborhood safety, awareness, and cooperation are important themes of the Night Out program. Chairman is calling upon all citizens of Lewis County to join the Lewis County Youth Bureau, Bravo Police Department, Lewis County Opportunities, and the Northern Regional Center for Independent Living to support the 2018 Lewis County Night Out event. Battle to be held Friday the 7th at the Lewis County Fairgrounds from 5:30 to 7:30.
Thank you, Terry. So we'll take a 5-minute recess and we're going to go into.
Are you going to make the motion to enter that session?
Do we need a motion to do that? Okay. I'm going to make a motion. Jerry, Brian, all in favor? Aye. So that carries. We'll take a 5-minute recess.